So I want to talk about something that has been a debate among cast iron enthusiasts, and it's using this guy right here. Whether you're new to cast iron or you're experienced, you have all been in the middle of fights and in comment wars about dish soap. And in this episode, we're going to talk about, can you use dish soap in a cast iron pan today? But more importantly, we're going to talk about something that nobody else is. So stay tuned, pull up a chair, and let's dig in. All right, so many years ago, back in the early 1920s and all that, there was a soap product that contained lye, L-Y-E. And so it was a common thing around the house that they would use to scrub things. And the truth is that it would actually break down cast iron. So when your grandma or your grandpa told you don't use soap, that's probably what they were experiencing when they were growing up, is, you know, having some kind of lye soap going around, using that to clean their dishes and all that. So anyway, so around the 1940s is when lye soap started kind of getting out of the residential atmosphere, because then you started having the rise of Teflon pans in like the mid 50s and around there. So you saw like a Joy dish soap coming out by Procter & Gamble, you know, around, I think it was around 1940, somewhere around there. And so you started seeing more and more dish soaps that kind of catered to your Teflon pans that didn't have that harsh lye. And in fact, you know, some cast iron enthusiasts will use a lye bath to just, you know, to break down all the rust and all the grime off of an old pan to restore it. So it's definitely a very harsh chemical. So I could understand why the hardcore old school cast iron enthusiasts say don't use lye or don't use dish soap, because they're thinking about that history. So anyway, but like I said, around the 40s and even today, like when you go down to your grocery store and you buy dish soap, it's harmless to cast iron. That's the truth. It really is, because it's a neutral pH, so it's not going to actually, you know, break through a good seasoned cast iron pan. And I want to make sure that I emphasize, using dish soap on a well seasoned cast iron pan is a lot different than you getting a cast iron pan that's a raw from the beginning, meaning that you have to develop that seasoning. Of course, you know, you're going to want to use that soap the first time to get anything that might have been in there when you bought it, you know, like dust and debris from shipping. But other than that, until you get several layers of seasoning on there, you're not going to want to use dish soap in a raw iron pan. But once you get that seasoning, and we're going to touch upon that in the next episode, we're going to go into a little deeper dive of seasoning and what it really means, and kind of make it a little easier for people and not get too much lost in the science. But anyway, so back to the dish soap. So once your pan is well seasoned, you don't have to worry about it. Now, there are fans of kosher salt. Myself, personally, I'm a fan of using kosher salt and just a wooden utensil to scrape it off, you know, a little hot water and do all that. So now you're wondering what the different thing is that I want to talk about. Well, I don't hear many people talk about this one aspect of cast iron cooking in regards to dish soap. And it's, you know, like this pan right here. This is just a traditional, like a ceramic pan. You know, you might have one of these around your house. And when you're done cooking, you know, you don't think about it. You just stick it in the dishwasher. You know, you put that little tablet or that little goo in there, and then you leave it, and you're like, all right, when it's dry, it's clean. So you don't put any thought into what's happening behind that. So, you know, when I was first, you know, getting into cast iron, my wife was hesitant to use cast iron, and she still is hesitant to cook on it, but she'll eat on it now. But her biggest hang up was she didn't like the fact that you couldn't use soap. And I was kind of like the rest of people, and I thought, yeah, you can't use soap on cast iron. So that's why I wanted to do this episode and really dig in and really talk about why using dish soap on a well-seasoned pan is fine. In fact, Lodge, this is a Lodge that I have right here. This baby right here, she's the 12-inch Lodge. This was pretty much the first pan that I bought that got me into cast iron. And you know, they actually have a video out, and they actually recommend after you buy it to use dish soap to use it. So they've been doing it since 1896. I would think you could trust that. So anyway, so back to the big difference of what I've been seeing that nobody's talking about, and that's heat. So back to using this pan. So when you're done, you stick it in the dishwasher, you press that button, you don't think about it. Well, what's happening is to clean that pan, it's counting on that little tablet or that soap to get all the grime and the grease off those pans, and then it's using heat, hot water and heat to actually kill off the rest of the bacteria. So the average dishwasher is going to get between 140 and 160 degrees Fahrenheit. It seems pretty hot, doesn't it? I mean, you could burn your hand at that temperature. So I wanted to compare and contrast that to how you clean a cast iron pan. So in cast iron, you're obviously not going to put it in the dishwasher. In fact, I did a video of what happens when you do that, and it didn't turn out too well for the pan. And actually, that same pan that I put in the dishwasher is the very one that the handle snapped on. So it's definitely not recommended to put it in the dishwasher. So anyway, so cast iron, so you're done. Whether you use soap or you use kosher salt to clean all the grime and all the grease off of that pan. So what's the next thing you're gonna do? The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna dry it off, and then you're gonna put it on that burner to heat back up, right? And then you're gonna put a thin layer of oil to keep that seasoning prime all over that pan. Well, when you take a look and you think about that pan, on average, it's getting up to 300 to 450 degrees around that pan. 300 is pretty much what I've seen as the low point. So think about that. That's gonna burn anything off that pan that was crusty and bad. So if I use kosher salt or regular dish soap, it doesn't matter. All that heat is gonna destroy any thought of bacteria that I had. So if you are hesitant to get into cast iron, due to that, the fact that you can't use dish soap, well then, get you a well-seasoned pan and go ahead, use some dish soap. So anyway, this is another episode on the journey to cast iron confidence, and this is Heath Haley from East Texas Duct Tape, and I hope this touched you, and I hope it helped you, and now we're going on to the next episode.